I'd like to call the meeting to order, the Norwich Board of Education monthly meeting, September the 19th, 2023. Time is 5:30 p.m. Kevin, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
1.2 minutes for the Board of Education meeting on June 13th, 2023. Any motion from the floor, please?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Aaron Daniels, second that motion.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Approval of the minutes, Board of Education special meeting, July 5th, 2023. I'll entertain a motion.
Aaron Daniels, move that we accept the minutes from July 5th.
Kevin Satani, I will second the motion.
Motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Approval of minutes of the Board of Education special meeting, July 13th, 2023. Motion from the floor, please.
Make a motion, we accept those minutes.
Need a second?
I second that motion.
There's a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Approval of the minutes, Board of Education special meeting, September the 12th, 2023. Motion from the floor.
Aaron Daniels, move that we accept the minutes from September 12th.
Arkulas, second that motion.
There's a motion on the floor and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Approval of minutes of the Board of Education special meeting on September the 18th, 2023. Need motion from the floor?
Kevin Satani, I will approve the minutes from September 18th, 2023.
Krista Stacy, I'll second that.
And that's a second. Motion on the floor, seconded. And is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. I have no current report from the chairperson. Report of the superintendent. Susan?
I know Amber said that you like to hear what the district vacancies are, so there's not too many. Huntington has an elementary grade 5. Moriarty and Stanton both have a library vacancy. Uncas special education, and teacher school, middle school has a physical education. It's the only vacancies in the district right now.
Thank you. Is it for the report? Thank you. Report of the, do we have any questions of the superintendent? I'm sorry. Hearing none.
I have a brief one. How would you like to be addressed? Susan, superintendent?
Susan is fine,
All right, very good.
thank you.
Thank you.
Report of the assistant superintendent.
Good evening. I just have 3 highlights from the MLL department. We have 739 students that are active EL students, and we are currently monitoring 52 of the students who have exited the program, but we're just closely monitoring them. And then also that October 12th will be a Hispanic Heritage event. From the adult ed report, that this week is the Adult Education Family Week. And adult education, they are hosting 5 levels of English instruction, as well as programs such as Families Learning English, Citizenship, Adult Basic Education for students who test as proficient with English skills. And then my last highlight is just to highlight the great work that staff has done last year with the increase in student growth with achievement. We saw double-digit gains on SBAC, and you can see that there with the student growth rate as well as the double-digit gains in the amount in terms of reaching our target that was achieved. So I just wanted to share that. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions for the Assistant Superintendent? Mark?
Yeah, you mentioned what was 739 in MLL? Was that an increase from last year?
So as of right now, it looks like a decrease. We ended the year, I believe, around 800.
Okay.
So this year, after, you know, eighth grade promotion, some movement in the district, we're at 739 this year.
Any further questions? Report of the Director of Student Services. Does anybody have Lisa's report?
It's attached in Word doc.
Okay. Lisa could not be here today, was at a family function. Report of the Business Administrator.
Good evening. I'd like to start with a recap of the final 22-23 year-ending financial report. I will say it's unaudited yet. The audit is in process now. As you recall, in the fall and early winter, we recognized that special ed costs were escalating in the areas of contracted services and outplaced tuitions. So we were anticipating a deficit in the winter of anywhere from 1.8 to $2.2 million. In March, to try and counteract those negative impacts, the district went into a budget freeze. We actually ended the year with a deficit of $1,923,315,000. So it was on the lower end of the estimate. All other accounts, excluding those two special ed accounts, were actually under budget. They were $334,000 under budget, so the freeze was effective. That would include salaries, transportation, legal fees, the whole gamut. Just looking at the two major accounts that were driving that, special ed placement tuitions were $1,923,315,000. Oh, I'm sorry, that was the total amount. They were $1,986,961 over budget, and contracted services were $2,270,856 over budget. In June, the Board of Ed authorized the use of non-lapsing funds to cover the deficit, and the district's intent was to limit the deficit to strictly special ed, so we did achieve that goal. After using the non-lapsing funds, the remaining balance now in the account is $1,401,637,000. So the audit is underway, and if there are any adjustments in January, they would be made at that end, at the end of the year. By state statute, we have to submit the expense report to the state by September 1. We submitted it on August 28th. So in your packet, you have a one-sheet handout, which is just the special ed expense sheet from the actual EFS filing. The top half, which shows expenses of $1,746,000. Those are expenses that were covered by the federal IDEA grant money. Compared to the prior year, we spent 18.61% more. The bottom half section, which accounts for $36,120,718 of spending, was what the Board of Ed spent. That's $4.4 million above the prior year, or almost 14% higher. So that was a bad financial experience. I'll just leave it at that. So if you have any questions related to 22, 23, I'd be glad to take them.
Do you think that was unusual or specific to our district, or were special ed expenses up across the state?
That was statewide. And that $36 million doesn't reflect the, that's net, including the excess cost reimbursement grant. If you recall, the excess cost reimbursement grant in the budget was about $1.3 million. We actually ended up getting $2.1 million, which reflects the higher costs. Unfortunately, that was $550,000 less than the amount we should have. State had passed legislation which put the districts into 3 tiers, with Norwich falling into the highest tier, and we were supposed to have 91% reimbursement. Because overall state special ed high cost expenses were up by 16%, the state had to ratchet back the percentages that each district would get. So our reimbursement rate fell from 91% down to 79%. and those infamous budget words in there, subject to the appropriation, is the reason why the pot of money wasn't that big. For the current school year, 23-24, the state has allocated an extra $25 million in the excess cost grant. And for the 24-25 budget year, there's another $25 million in there. So hopefully Norwich will receive its full 91% reimbursement in the current year. So to your question, yes, Mark, overall, it was up 16% statewide. And if you look at our numbers, we were up 14%. So I'd say we're pretty much right at the state average.
Bob, I was just wondering, so buses seem to be running smoothly now? Because I know there were a lot of
What's running
the
smoothly?
buses are running smoothly now.
Yeah, there's always some
Oh, yeah,
hiccups,
first 2 weeks I know
but
are
overall, it's a
horrible.
daily. Maria does a wonderful job managing that.
Do you know anything about a new policy where kids have to be picked up on the side of the street where they are waiting, they're not allowed to cross the street to the bus?
Policy is the same that was in effect last year. So,
It was?
Okay, well,
I'll double check, but if
It
there
was
was a
followed last year, because my son, now my son has, I mean, finally the schedule's worked itself out and he's gotten to school on time, but the first week and a half, he did not make it to
Yeah, there's-
school before 9:20. He was supposed to be picked up at 8:14 and every day was picked up at 8:50. We watched our bus driver drive by our bus stop, start an argument with me and another mother. I had to go to the bus company, which is how I found out. They said that it's not, I said, well, this was never communicated properly, and somehow maybe it got lost, but in communication, as things do we get spam mail, millions of mails, but we need to make sure that things like that are better addressed to the public, because I'm just one parent and I was late to work multiple times when I planned my schedule, because my kid should be on the bus by 8:30, no problem. That's giving them 15 minutes to be late.
We address those on an individual basis, and Maria does a great job. And every year you have some changes to the routes, some students added, some deleted, new drivers, routes switch, and we try to iron those out as quickly as we can.
I understand that. I'm just saying that this was a big failure on, I don't know whose part, but it was not communicated. My son was picked up last year as a second grader on the opposite side. He always crossed the street to get on the bus.
I did feel a few.
And then this time, all of a sudden, his bus driver is just driving by every morning and then going all the way to downtown the marina to turn around, which took 20 minutes for her to get back. And my kid missed out on valuable education time as long as multiples, you know what I mean? And that's something that we just gotta do a little bit better, making sure it's properly communicated, because first weeks of school are already complicated. We add something like that where parents think they have to work, they have to be at work at 9, their kid should be on the bus by 8:30.
Yes, point's well taken.
Otherwise, I would have just dropped him off at school. Cause I still would have, he would have gotten, at least, he would have gotten his education
Have any
time. I still would have been late to work.
Please call and
I
let us
wonder-
know.
I wonder if we should send out a reminder on that parent square thing for parents. The driver last year might not have been following the policy, like
Yeah.
you said.
Well, I Yeah, I can assure you that there was I have multiple kids that I pick up that were allowed to cross the street, and now it just wasn't properly
It
communicated.
shouldn't matter. I'm trying to figure out why, because when the bus stops and all the flags come out, that street is dead. Nobody else can go by. So I'm not sure why they don't allow students to cross the street. That just seems really strange, the whole concept of it.
Especially with some of our city streets the way they
Yeah.
are, you can't, you have to go up.
It just
and
makes
turn
the bus
over.
ride in the morning and afternoon now double long, because
It's
they've got to
just a
drive.
question. It's a question that we're not gonna be able to answer today, but.
No, but I just wanted
Yeah.
to bring it up, and I
Absolutely.
thank Christine for bringing it up, because she knows, because my son that
Day on average.
I had it happen to,
Just for
and
just for daily bus routes, and 90 drivers.
I'm not saying, I'm just, I think the transportation department, First Student does an amazing job. I went there and I talked to them, and it was kind of funny because they were just like, well, you're gonna have to talk to the Board of Ed, and I'm like, and Josh, of course, was with me, he's like, well, she's gonna talk to herself, like, she didn't know. So if I didn't know, then I can guarantee you there's parents out there that didn't know, and That's one of my biggest issues is the transparent, we gotta do better. We gotta co-parent better. We gotta make sure that everyone's getting the proper communication.
Jim?
Yeah, it's on the same token, I was hearing about, there was a week or 2 weeks ago, there was very hot temperatures and there was an accident. And that the students were left on the bus, but the windows there was no air conditioning in the bus. And per regulation, they could not lower the windows, open the windows, and the kids really were getting, I mean, that's not good.
I'll have to check on that, cause
Yeah.
no one brought that to my attention, unless Maria handled that individually.
No, a parent, said something about that she was told that the windows can be open all the way, but I saw a Norwich bus student driver last week for a wedding. I asked her, I said, is this something new? And, she says, no, you're allowed to have the windows open.
Yeah, I'll
So
find
I
out.
don't know, But yeah, cause that's why I had checked with Bob regarding the air conditioning in the buildings, if we were doing okay.
Yeah, they
'cause
were
I knew
fine.
us, yeah, and he made me feel good about that, that
Yeah,
yes, we
definitely.
were doing good. Because I know some schools had to close early. And you did mention that everything was running fine, but then of course I was thinking, well, that bus ride is the problem, cause it's like an oven in them, when they would sit in the sun.
Students were actually
Yeah.
better off in school because the schools were air conditioned.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and
and
a
sitting
higher
home, you're
percentage
right,
of
cause a
homes
lot
that
of
are
people don't have AC, yeah.
not. 23,
Thank you.
23, 24 update?
Let's go ahead.
Okay, the year's just started. School year actually began on September 5th with all staff reporting to work on August 31st. It's very early in the budget cycle. We only have 2 full payrolls, but we've started analyzing the major budget accounts, the salaries, healthcare insurance, transportation, things like that, because we need to know early, because of the tight budget, where we stand to make sure that we don't run into problems, so we can identify them early. You might recall transportation is a new contract this year, and we have a new way of billing. In the past, we were billing all buses 12 hours a day. The reality is we don't need 90 buses for 12 hours a day, so now we're billed in blocks of time based on our anticipated actual usage. So I only have a small sample to compare. I looked at ESY summer transportation this year compared to last summer. It's the same program, same number of days. And the overall ESY transportation bill was $65,000 less this year than last year. So I'm anxiously looking forward to the September bill when we have full school and after-school activities and see like that to see if the trend continues, because that'll be very important to our budget going forward. I received positive news from NPU last week. They've entered into new pricing contracts for natural gas and electricity. Natural gas prices are gonna decrease in November by 47%, and electricity will go down by 10%. Sewer and water are going up slightly. The two should end up netting out with a budget savings for us of 20 to 30%. We'll know when the heat bills come in. For gross dollars, our electric budget is a little over $1 million, and the natural gas bill is about $630, $640. So they have the potential, depending on the weather, for some good budget savings, especially if natural gas goes down by 47%. Tuitions, we'll start getting, October 1st is the day schools start billing. So that's when we'll be getting all of our special ed invoices from NFA and the magnet schools and designated high schools and things like that. Diesel fuel, if you recall, we entered into a new pricing contract last year that took effect on September 1. We didn't do the full anticipated usage, I just did 50,000 gallons. So that starts September 1 and it's $3.20 a gallon compared to the invoice for the last of August. It's about 40 cents less per gallon, so that'll be helpful. Health insurance, looks like we could be there. I'll have a better idea after we get 2 months under our belt. So those are the accounts that we're looking at, and we'll have a better handle at the end of October, early November on where we're trending. Any questions?
I see that overall the budget, you've already got what, like 44% allocated?
Yeah, we're encumbering, things that are encumbered, we're trying trying to get encumbrances and, what the district is doing, Munis is our financial system, and in the past, that hasn't been fully utilized. So we've been working with the software company, Tyler Technology, on making changes to the system and educating us how to properly use the system, because when it was set up 3 or 4 years ago, we had modules that we're not using. For example, I can't do budgeting within our financial system because it wasn't set up. And for that to function, we need to set up a position control module and a personnel action form. So we're in the process of doing that. Once we have that, we can forecast payroll through our financial system, and you'll actually see payroll expenses being encumbered as we go and as changes are made. So that'll be very helpful. Right now, I'm having to do, my staff is doing this work on Excel spreadsheets. It works. It's time consuming. But we should use tools that we have. So that's been a long process, and it's like trying to fix the plane and fly it at the same time.
My question is about the old central office building. Are we going to be able to move towards closing that building now that?
Yeah, there's two buildings, Hickory Street and Central
They
Office.
did move already?
The majority of the fixtures and furnitures have been moved. We still have some cleanup work to do. The staff was focused on getting Bishop up and running and getting the pre-K classrooms at Moriarty and the other schools set up and getting staff settled. So now that that's done, facilities can turn their attention to final cleanup. Hickory will be the first building turned over back to the city. We're trying to iron out how many parking spaces are needed for adult ed, and that building will go offline first. The servers for the district are located right now at Town Street. They need to be relocated over to Kelly. That's the number one option. The network is through CEN. They have right now about a 5-month backlog for moving the network, and it's not, even though we could physically do it, we're not allowed to do it. So we can't vacate that building until the servers are moved. Last week, I did do a tour with the mayor and a prospective client, so there is some interest in the building.
Already?
Yeah.
I know because the computer systems have to be kept in a cold
Yeah.
room and everything, so we'll always have those clauses until
Yeah.
it's moved. I remember Matt saying.
But the heat will be
probably a
lower,
good
the
year from-
electricity is lower.
yeah. Okay.
There's no custodial services inside the building, there's no cleaning being done, so there are savings being done until the building is turned over
Very
completely.
good. Thank you, Bob.
Any questions for, any further questions, I should say? You're gonna hit the facilities,
I didn't have anything to comment, it should be in your packet
I
unless,
just want to ask one question about the boilers.
on the boilers?
Mhm.
At
I'm sorry,
the boilers where?
every single school that we have.
Oh,
Just the status
That's
update.
it.
Status, I'd like to
I
know.
hate to answer that, the heating season hasn't started, but right now we don't have any issues.
Okay.
So, knock on wood.
Pray El Nino stay strong.
All right. Moving on, public comment?
I don't have anybody signed up.
Anybody here to, for public comment? Ma'am? Hang on for 1 second, if you don't mind. Board welcomes public comment as it represents an opportunity for members of the public to express their views to the board on matters within the board's authority. On behalf of the board, I wish to remind those offering comments that consistent with our bylaws, we ask that speakers please limit their comments to 3 minutes, and there is a maximum of 30 minutes for each subject matter. All speakers must maintain appropriate standards of decorum. No boisterous or inappropriate conduct is permitted. We expect comments to be respectful and civil in tone, and we do not permit name calling, raised voices, or vulgarity. All comments must be directed to the board and not to any individual board member or individual member of the administration. As noted, public comment is your opportunity to convey your views to the board, but it is not a question and answer session. The board and its administration will not be responding to questions or engaging in dialogue during the public comment period. Board and the administration will determine whether, when, and how to address the questions that arise during the public comment period. And lastly, when you come to the microphone, please state your name and full address for the record.
Hi, my name is Jess Quay, 321 Old Canterbury Turnpike in Norwich. I'm so thankful to be speaking right now as one of the parent advocates who hasn't lost the voice in me. I'm here to issue a thank you to you, the Board of Education, but a little backstory since I get 3 minutes. My courageous friend Christina and I brought the issues that have been at the forefront of this new school year to this very Board of Education about 2 years ago. The teachers and staff of this district who knew they could count on us came to us with their concerns and their stories. We gathered information and tried our best to give that information into some of your trusted hands, as well as previous board members' hands. We pointed fingers, we sent emails, we talked to the media, we met in person, we spoke over the phone. Despite our best efforts, that wasn't enough. Since then, we all know the damage that it's done. We've lost amazing educators, support staff. We've even lost amazing families from this community who have moved in search of stability, support, and overall happiness with their education system. I know I said this was a thank you, so I really will get to that point. There's just so many emotions connected to this situation. My children have been in the school system for 8 years now, so I know and I have a lot of relationships with so many of the wonderful educators that either did or do currently encompass Norwich Public Schools. So I beg your pardon if this is a little bit celebratory. I'll leave you with this. I hope the results from last night's special meeting is just the beginning of the justice that this faculty of Norwich Public Schools will receive. They deserve to move forward in a manner that reminds them of why they became an educator in the first place. Please continue to do your due diligence in this matter, because as far as we can see it, she's never coming back from this. Thank you so very much for doing the right thing. Something we can absolutely be proud of happened in this very room last night. So thanks again. There's one last thank you to be given, and that is to the rock star educators who came forward and spoke up even with the fear that was instilled in them. You've been incredible role models for the community and most importantly, to the children you spend your days with. I will leave you with one last regard. Give them all the information they need to end this right now. Do not let threats or intimidation prevent you from speaking your truth. You are untouchable.
Is there anyone else with public comment? Come forward, please, ma'am.
My name's Dominica Vilas, 22 Page Street in Norwich. I'm a parent. I know that there's a need for preschooler staff, and I want to put out there that I am still looking to be put into a position. My application has been in there since July. I worked a year and some change at the Bishop School before it was closed, and I was a sub-floater teacher there. I subbed for weeks on in one classroom. I subbed as a para. I went to multiple schools like Veterans, Mahan, and Huntington. So I have the experience. I actually went back to school so I can get fully certified, which was something why they actually hired me back in 2022, was because I was willing to get certified for them so they can have another preschool teacher. I have not heard anything. I've talked to higher up. They told me to email certain people and I've been pushed aside. So I would like to publicly say that I am still looking and available to actually work with the preschoolers. I love them. They're just like my own children. And I want to be able to teach in our community and help build, these kids up. So that's my comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else for public comment? Come on, step forward.
Hello, my name is Xavier, and Bowser, 22 Page Street,
Okay.
and here to talk about my experiences at school when missing services for like 3 weeks from like my
Get your paper, Bobby, it's okay.
Take a deep breath.
Hmm?
Take a deep breath. Relax.
So I had a 504 meeting that I'm supposed to meet my social worker, but then for 3 weeks I haven't been able to see her at all during 7th grade. And not my mom didn't know. No one really knew where she was, and she ended up going to a different school when I was supposed to meet her for at least 2 times a week. And during the National Junior Honor Society, we brought her there, but we were a little bit late. After the ceremony, superintendent went around saying congratulations to everyone, but before she left, she came up to me, didn't say congratulations, but said, "I'm happy we're ready for you," and just left. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else for a public comment? Is there anyone else for public comment? Anyone else for public comment? Budget Expenditure Committee. Let's see here. Ad hoc. For a while. Negotiation Committee.
I know there's a TA pending with the custodians. We'll have to check with, I sent Peter an email. I'm not sure if the union has approved that yet or not. As soon as they approve it, it'll be before the board to approve. And that's the only, I believe that was, we went through the first round of all the bargaining units, and this will be the first of the bargaining units for the new round of sessions, so hopefully we'll be able to do that for the October meeting.
Now, since our last regular meeting, we also finished administrative assistants since our last regular meeting.
Right.
School Building Committee.
School building, they're actually having a meeting tonight. Because of the primary, the schools were voting locations. That's why our meeting was moved from the second Tuesday to this Tuesday. It's really the only conflict in the calendar. Really, there's not much happening there except for the fact that they're looking to hire a construction manager now. So we're doing the prep work for setting up the RFP and the questions, the rubrics. So that's what they're doing tonight.
I just wanted to say that you skipped over 4.4 Policy Committee. There's nothing to report.
That was easy. Skip Kevin. Okay.
Integrated daycare, day charter, I'm sorry.
So they have their first regular meeting of the year tomorrow. I was able to talk with the director of the school shortly this week. We talked a little bit about the start of the year. Things are going well. The theme for the year for the integrated day charter school this year is Together We Move Mountains. Was something that was chosen by some students and voted by the teachers and administration. They're working on closing on a piece of land adjacent to integrated day charter school. Having worked there for a little while, this will be very nice for them to give them space for larger groups of kids to be able to go outside and do stuff. There's not a lot of space for that right now. That's all I have to report for right now, because again, they don't have their first meeting until tomorrow.
Thanks, Craig. Learn.
Nothing additional report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Moving on to board reports. Mark?
I'm
I don't
sorry,
have any-
excuse me, you skipped the NFA for your report. Did you get to meet the new administrator?
I met with him, I reported that last time in May. In June, I'm sorry. Board reports, Mark?
I don't have anything.
I think you do.
Is there? Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, the firm that we hired to conduct fact-finding school climate consultants, they informed me that they're not able to do a deeper dive, which is going to be required for an investigation for specific allegations against Dr. Stringfellow. So we will be looking into a new firm which will be able to do the deep dive into those specific allegations.
It is the board attorney.
And the board attorney will be helping me to sift through possible candidates for that.
I'm sure they'll forward everything that we've given them.
Oh, yes, absolutely, yeah.
Just wanna make sure we
Yeah,
follow.
I have copies of all of that. I have digital copies, so the transfer of all that material would be like instantaneous, so. I think they may have gotten frightened from the giant packet that
Oh, stop.
that, well, no, it was a lot of material.
Yeah, there's so much more.
There's a lot more.
It's
So,
not-
yeah, we
it's
need
not-
qualified people.
They probably just realize that's not what their mission is, you know?
Right, their mission is more of a holistic approach
Exactly.
as opposed to specific allegation
Mhm.
investigation.
So when should we,
I hope to
is there any
get,
timetable?
I hope to get it done by hopefully by next week, maybe by Friday, maybe by Monday at the latest, to hire someone new and to keep them on the same timetable for reporting back to us by early November.
Will we have to have another meeting to, for their hiring?
No, you've already authorized me
As we've
to
already
do
done,
that,
okay,
right?
that's what I wanna make sure.
Yeah, so the firm that, I guess there was a bit of miscommunication on our part and, I thought they would be able to do the scope and they reconsidered and said, no, this is really not in our wheelhouse.
It's not their thing.
Any other board reports? All right, we have additional reports posted to Docs, Google Docs, Board Docs.
Just a quick question. But when you figure that out, you're gonna let all of us get it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that I can get it in the hands of the correct people who need to get their testimony out?
Well, yeah, it'll be up to that firm. They'll be setting up interviews most likely through central office to get contact people or through the teachers union, teachers and administrators.
Okay, I understand that, but there's just people that, they're trying to hand me their stuff now and I'm just gonna take it and hand it to you to make sure it gets to them.
Yes,
in a timely
absolutely.
Fashion,
Yes.
because.
Yes,
Okay, cause
Yeah.
like I said, some of that stuff is very concerning.
right. And what I do with it, I just scan it. I don't even look at, read it. I scan it in and send it on, because that's the investigator's responsibility, how they
No,
set up their investigation.
I understand that. I just wanna make sure that the people that are ready to now can get in and get this stuff out, because I believe it's only gonna take one person to go in there. I think there's enough to make a decision. It
Possibly.
doesn't have, that's my personal opinion, but I don't think it has to be dragged on any longer. This community is hurt enough. So I just wanna make sure that I can get that contact information as soon as you have it.
Okay,
Thank you.
yep, no problem.
Hearing nothing else, motion to adjourn.
Aaron Daniels, so move.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Please adjourn.